Hello and welcome to the Mac Gamecast, episode 63. I'm your host, Jon Carr. With me is co-host Casper. How you doing?
I'm doing generally good. I feel like the Mac gaming news cycle is in a bit of a funky space right now where I'm excited about a lot of things, but at the same time, I feel like we've been waiting a lot for something big to happen after all of the game releases, and now we're just sort of in a bit of a lull, but I still have positive feelings about it all. It's just, yeah. So that's how I'm doing.
Absolutely. No, it's been almost 2 months since our last show. We could have filled an interim show with just some ramblings, but there wasn't much in the way of news until more recently. We've also just been busy, so scheduling was a little difficult.
Mhm.
But today we have a decent chunk of things to go over. We're going to talk about some M5 game performance, Valve's shadow drop out of nowhere Steam hardware, Steam Machine, etc., Steam controller. Some things, some game releases to iOS and iPad, but may or may not be on Mac. Some own games we've been playing ourselves lately. We'll talk about that more in the middle. And then we'll see how far we get, and we may wrap up with a few other things. But
Mhm.
that'll be the majority of the topics today. Latest news and some game stuff, which I will throw the ball back into your court because you were talking about it more than me with the M5 game performance stuff is perhaps the most interesting place to start.
Sure. So right now, the M5 chip exists in three products: the iPad Pro, the MacBook Pro, the 14-inch one, the base entry-level one, and the Vision Pro also got upgraded with M5. Um, and it's one of the bigger improvements we've seen for graphics and gaming performance in the base tier M chip for a while. Um, it's Yeah, it's improving on the GPU front quite a bit. Also decent CPU improvements. So it's a fairly all right generational increase in performance across the board. Um, I forget the numbers when comparing to like M4. But if you have an M1 chip, this new M5 is 2.6 times faster in games than the M1. So that sort of like just gives an indication of how far we've come in the time Apple Silicon has been out. Because like when Apple Silicon came out, we were all like, "Whoa, it's so much better than Intel." It was a really big revelation. But
Yeah.
then, of course, the train's got to keep moving. Performance got to keep getting better, and we need to actually see substantial improvements for Apple Silicon to stay ahead of the curve and not just fall behind. And I feel like a 2.6 times improvement over 5-ish years is pretty good. Of course, we are in a different era now than we once were, where you'd expect 2 times improvement over 2 years and 4 times over 4 years or whatever. But
Yeah, right.
um, in today's day and age, I think that's a pretty decent improvement. And I was actually pleasantly surprised because the numbers Apple themselves gave about gaming performance, I was like, they're gonna use all of the features. They're gonna have like ray tracing enabled and all of the metal effects upscaling and stuff to enhance or enlarge the difference that they were showing in their graphs. Because the new M5 chips have effectively the equivalent of tensor cores from NVIDIA on the GPU instead of just in the neural engine. So there's a smaller pathway if you're already rendering graphics to use it there. That would benefit something like metal effects upscaling and frame generation more than other features. And ray tracing hardware is one of the aspects where they've had fewer iterations of ray tracing hardware, so there's probably bigger gains to be had there. And we've talked before about how the ray tracing performance isn't exactly on par with competition relative to the tier of the GPU in other respects.
Yeah.
So there's more to win there, and I thought, they're just showing all of that cranked up, which is an unrealistic gaming scenario for a base M5 chip. But it turned out actually that the graph from Apple about the performance was without any of that enabled at all, raw rendering.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so the even comparing to Apple's numbers, the chip is a little bit better than what Apple was showing in gaming performance, and it's pretty good. Very very positive about it all. I've seen some comparisons that show that compared to M4, well, going to be bouncing anywhere from like 30-ish% on the low end better performance to all the way to like 2 times, but that was comparing a MacBook Air to a MacBook Pro, so not apples to apples. The fan is going to make a bigger difference for sustained performance in a game than it is going to matter in smaller workloads that the MacBook Air is more geared towards.
Yes.
But yeah, in more of an apples to apples comparison, M1 to M5 is like a 2.6 times multiplication, and of course less from newer generations, but there's a good improvement, and especially interesting to me as someone who tends to buy fairly high-end Macs is, of course, this is also going to scale. So these improvements we're seeing, well, the same improvements are coming to M5 Pro and M5 Max, and there's going to be an M5 Ultra is what the rumors are pointing to, and we're skipping the M4 for the Ultra series.
Okay, interesting.
And yeah, it's really going to lift the performance in the higher end as well, it seems. So I'm pretty positive about it all. It seems like Apple is generally iterating fairly well with each generation of M chip. And we haven't gotten to the, even though we've actually been on 3 nanometers for a fair bit now. I think M3 was the first on 3 nanometers, and M4 was on 3 nanometers, and M5 is on 3 nanometers. But it's not like the Intel 14 plus 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 plus, where you basically saw no improvement after a while, right? We are still getting decent improvements over time here. So yeah, pretty positive.
Nice. Yeah, I've been eyeballing a Mac Mini, especially with Black Friday coming up. But of course, it would be an M4 chip, not an M5. And I don't really, we'll see. I may just wait till they drop an M5, but I'm probably not. I don't know if I'll actually buy a Pro machine. It's mostly going to be more of a work machine rather than a gaming machine, but even the base M4 is reasonably punchy. But we'll see. I may wait for an M5. We'll see. But sometime or the other, maybe this year, certainly sometime by next year, I'll acquire a Mac Mini.
Yeah. It's a neat little machine.
Yeah, it'll work well for my current setup. I don't actually really need a laptop. It's just what I have. Yeah. But I'm getting a little tired of dealing with plugging things in and out of it all the time and moving it around here and there. It's like I would love just a little box, fits perfectly on my desk, all the cables go into it. I turn it on, turn it off, boom. Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see about that. But no, like you said, the gains aren't exponential like over M1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, but we are seeing a pretty nice jump here. And this could be a whole topic unto itself. But, like you mentioned in the intro, there is a little lull in game releases, but we have had some pretty great game releases this year. And, you want to crank up AC Shadows, Assassin's Creed Shadows, or Cyberpunk 2077 on, a nice M5 machine, you're going to be pretty happy about that. For example, those would be the top 2, like, most demanding Mac games right now that I can think of. I don't really know if there's a third that is equally hardware challenging, but yeah.
And then of course, the more stuff you run through something like Crossover, that has a performance hit as well, even though it's in some cases not that big, but in other cases it can be quite substantial.
Yes.
So the more beefy hardware we have, the more we unlock to run through translation and emulation and virtualization and whatever else as well. So there's many reasons having beefier hardware can be beneficial, even if the native games run perfectly well on less powerful hardware. Then we still have that catalog of non-native that we might want to run.
Exactly. I was just actually doing a quick check with Code Weavers. Borderlands 4, it gets 4 out of 5 stars, but it only has 4 votes. I don't know what hardware they were testing it on, but apparently it runs pretty well, so that's interesting. As of course I spent quite a bit of time last show or maybe the show before talking about Borderlands 4. I think the last 2 shows actually. So no Mac port that we know of, unless they shadow drop one, which is what they did with Borderlands 3, but who knows? Yeah. As we know, the inconsistent Mac releases are just that inconsistent. So. But apparently it runs pretty well in Crossover, 4 out of 5 stars. Again, I didn't look at what hardware that was tested on. But people are saying it works. Okay, there's a couple 3 stars. There's a 4 star, a 4 star, a 5 star, and 2 3 stars. So it's it's basically a 4-star average
Right.
between 3 and 5 stars. So 4 average.
I also find a lot of the time when something is like 3 stars, it's just like, yeah, it boots up and then it instantly like crashes, but at least it boots up to the intro screen.
Yeah.
Like sometimes the ratings on that are a bit too positive, giving something like that a
Yeah.
3-star.
Definitely.
But that's cool. Very neat. Yeah.
I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but yeah, like you pointed out, there's always, no matter how many Mac game releases there are, there's always going to be something a Mac gamer somewhere wants to play, but there isn't a native version. So they're going to go to Crossover, they're going to go to GeForce Now or whatever. But there's a fair amount of things not on GeForce Now actually that I sometimes want to play. For example, Dispatch. Talk about that more later, but works phenomenally great in Crossover, like easy peasy. Not on GFN. So yeah, that's been interesting. Speaking of other hardware, why don't we talk about Valve's latest hardware releases or upcoming hardware releases, I guess.
Yeah, it was a pretty big announcement they just came out with out of nowhere.
Yeah, on Wednesday, so just a couple of days ago, as of this recording, the 12th or something like that. Yeah, so they've already had the Steam controller for a while, so that isn't necessarily new, but they are releasing, and this is the way the trailer was, staged or whatever. First, they talked about the controller. So it's going to be a brand new controller, all kinds of new features. I'm not a controller guy, so it's a lot of sort of words that some of them go over my head and some of them like, okay, if you're a controller person, this sounds cool and great, I guess. They also said it would work on Mac specifically, so that's cool. I believe the current one does as well.
Yeah,
the main, as far as I know, that one of the defining features about the Steam controller over, an Xbox or PlayStation controller is it has these two little, of course, when video you can't see an audio. It has two little track pads on it, basically, right? Is that correct to say?
Like sure, something like that.
But it's a touch thing. You can little touchpad or trackpaddy sort of thing below the controller sticks. So it's kind of large, but other than that, it looks very much rather like an Xbox controller. I mean, aesthetically, because it uses the same, I think, ABXY or something. That always
ABXY is at least what both Xbox and Nintendo use, but you place them differently.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I see the numbers and I'm like, anyway, whatever. But it's like, why not ABCD? But or maybe it's for axis, X and Y axis or something. Anyway, that was cool. But then, the trailer is something like 5 minutes long, but then they're like, but wait, there's more. They didn't say that. I'm saying that. And then they talked about the Steam machine. Now, this is interesting because I think about 8 to 10 years ago, they released some kind of Steam machine.
I don't actually think they ever released it. They announced it, but then I think they dropped it before it ever came out.
Okay, something to that effect. Yeah, but they announced it. I think you're correct. But now they're back in force with, new design. Steam OS has been really revamped. Due to the popularity of the Steam Deck as well, there's a big library of games for Steam OS and a lot of interest and investment in that. As far as I can tell, this is meant to be more of a mid-range or maybe slightly upper mid-range PC. We're not sure on pricing yet. We're not sure on exact hardware. They said it was running, I think, a custom AMD GPU.
Yeah, it's
semi-custom.
It's sort of a semi-custom thing. It's mostly a normal GPU, but it does have a different CU count to its so that's like a compute unit, effectively what is equivalent to a GPU core in Apple's world, or I think Nvidia calls it what do they call it? An SM. Anyway, it's got a couple fewer compute units than its equivalent desktop counterpart. But it runs at a slightly higher base frequency, I think. So I don't know exactly where it's going to land up. But I would actually say it's more of a lower mid-end hardware setup.
Right.
But it's also a bit hard to say because it's a small form factor PC.
It is.
And you tend to you do have some hardware compromises in small form factor PCs. So if you are comparing it to other small form factor PCs, you might consider it more high or mid end or something like that.
That's what I was really thinking of, rather than comparing it to any PC, which of course, it would fall off. Just quick aside while we're on that. The spec sheet says it supports 4K ray tracing at 60 FPS if you use FSR upscaling, which is similar to NVIDIA's DLSS. So without
Yeah.
that, you're probably looking at what, 30 frames a second? I don't know.
I mean, you could say that about anything because FSR you can in theory upscale from like 1x1 resolution, right?
Yes.
So
No, it's a little. When I read that, I'm like, sounds good, but what are the actual details going on here? So
yeah.
yeah, or are they going to have multiple versions where you can just pay more money to get a juicier Steam machine and then therefore run at a higher? We don't know that yet. Sorry. And obviously the controller. Sorry. Going back to the controller, there was some neat things about it. You can use it wired or wirelessly, but the wireless dongle, which you plug into your computer, to act as the receiver, also acts as a magnetic charger for the controller. It's just this easy little like snap in, snap off thing they showed in the video. That was kind of cool. I thought.
They also point out that if you are using a device with less capable Bluetooth, or your Bluetooth is already used for your keyboard, your mouse, maybe some other things like headphones, the latency might be worse if you also connect the controller to your regular Bluetooth setup. You can perfectly fine do that. But for latency concerns, they recommend using their little dongle thing, which has a dedicated signal path or a channel just for that, so that you have the best latency.
Right. I believe they said this Steam machine has that built into it, if I'm not mistaken.
Absolutely, it does. So it has the Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and this thing built in, this special dongle thing.
Right. Yeah, so that was cool. And then, of course, they were like, but wait, there's more. And then they go on to reveal something that looks, to me anyway, like someone copy-pasted the Apple Vision Pro, just and tweaked a few small things, aka the Steam frame. Don't love the name, honestly. Steam frame sounds like some sort of, I don't know, coding framework to me or something. Whatever, it doesn't matter. They're calling it the Steam frame. Looks extremely like an Apple Vision headset, although maybe there's a bunch of headsets that look like that now, and that's just the way they all look. That's neither here nor there. But it's, that sort of thing. Virtual reality, AR, big, put on the goggles that has little controllers. You can play games on it and watch stuff on it. It can obviously stream stuff from your Steam machine. It can work with a controller. I think they said it had some kind of desktop mode.
Yep.
And I would have to go look at the other details. I'm just going off the top of my head. Again, no prices on these. This is all just the introduction of the hardware.
Yeah, and they've been pretty open about this being a fairly early introduction to all of this. They don't. Yeah. It's not something that's going to release anytime like really soon. I forget if they even said 2026, but
I think they said spring it would start, maybe.
Okay. But we don't even know if that's all of the products or just some of them, I think.
Correct. I suspect it's more like the controller, and then maybe they'll roll out the Steam machine, and then they would later roll out the Steam frame goggles.
I don't have much experience with VR stuff myself. I've tried a few things. I've tried the Apple Vision in the store and stuff, but I've never had any. But Valve has previously had the Index, and I think they bought HTC Vive or partnered with them or something on their VR headsets for a while.
Yes.
So they're not new to the VR game, but this is it's a beast that's more inspired by the success of the Steam Deck and the work on SteamOS and the Steam machines and stuff. This thing, unlike the prior VR headsets, will be capable of functioning entirely without a computer.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure that for the Index, you needed to tie it to a computer. This
I believe
can run standalone. Yeah.
Correct, which is nice.
Mm-hmm. It's got a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 chip in it. So I'm pretty sure that's more powerful than what's in something like the Meta Quest 3. But I'm not too up to date on Snapdragon hardware.
Right.
But in the Meta Quest 3 is an XR2 or something chip, specifically made for mixed reality, where this is just a general purpose Snapdragon chip. But it's gonna run SteamOS, and it's the first device running SteamOS that's on ARM. And this is where it gets really interesting for Mac stuff as well. because when Valve first really started putting money and effort and developer time into Proton, a lot of the work they did there helped Wine in general, which helped crossover, which helped Macs perform better in translated games as well, right? It's a benefit to us, even though it was less beneficial than Linux. It still benefited us.
Yeah.
The same thing might happen again, but to a slightly lesser degree because we already have Rosetta. But now Valve have announced that they're putting a lot of money and developer hours into this thing called FEX, F-E-X, which is equivalent to Rosetta, but for Linux. So it's running x86 software on ARM for SteamOS, for Linux, for this Steam Frame hardware, so that you can run your entire existing library of Steam games to the capability of the hardware on this Steam Frame. And while, again, it's less beneficial than development into Wine, because we already have Rosetta, it works great, and we can't run this FEX layer on macOS, it's just for Linux. It does benefit the space of Linux gaming on a Mac. So we've talked previously about Asahi Linux. Asahi Linux games will currently also run through this FEX layer of translation on Linux. And if that whole world gets expanded more, then Valve's investment in FEX is going to benefit games on Mac running Linux substantially.
Nice. Yeah, it's more, as we've discussed before, more developments in the ecosystem, usually upstream from us, sometimes downstream, are generally beneficial. There can often be beneficial side effects to the Mac or Mac gaming ecosystem, one way or the other. If not directly natively, then, like you said, maybe in some of these other ways, which is always fun. And I know there's quite a few, at least I know a few Steam controller fans out there. I know one guy I know on Steam's like an absolute fanatic about it. So he'll be really happy there's a newer, snazzier version coming.
And generally also just, more varied operating systems and more varied CPU architectures out there is generally a good thing, because it's going to make development for all of these platforms sort of need to happen in a more general way, rather than focusing on one platform, hyper fixating on and creating specifically for Windows on x86 or whatever. So yeah, if we can get more games written for Linux on ARM, I think that'll also translate to more games being written for macOS on ARM or whatever. So generally good, I think.
It is generally good. And with that in mind, I think it's a good segue to talk about, I think it was just yesterday, Red Dead Redemption, the first game, not the second, was announced coming to a whole bunch of mobile platforms, including iOS and iPad. And when I say mobile, I mean portable, like Switch, and I don't know, there's some other ones thrown out there. And that's interesting because, it's specific to iOS and iPadOS, not macOS. And as we know, at least theoretically, it's not too hard if you're already putting it out for iOS and iPad to include a Mac version or a Mac OS, Apple OS, whatever the heck they call it now. But of course, there was control differences and some UI differences. As far as I know, this was something to do with it's coming through Netflix, like some sort of deal with Netflix, and they either just don't care or don't want to put it out on the Mac, or they have some beef with Apple and this. That was all speculation. None of it was confirmed, but
I don't know to what extent the Netflix deal has anything to do with a potential Mac release coming or not.
Yeah, that was theory.
Yeah, but it is tied to a Netflix subscription, and as far as I'm concerned, with the current information, a Netflix subscription is going to be the only way of playing Red Dead.
Oh, I missed that. Okay.
It's not confirmed entirely. It's just they're only talking about it in connection with the Netflix thing, the Netflix games system. It's possible that whenever it actually comes out, it's like, yeah, you can play it with your Netflix account, but you can also just buy it for however many dollars.
That's what it seems like, yeah.
But everything they've said in their press releases, they've only talked about it relating to a Netflix subscription. So it's still up in the air. It's not confirmed one way or the other. But it at least is confirmed that if you have a Netflix subscription, you can play it through that without paying anything extra on top of that. I think they also have the GTA Definitive Edition collection thing in the same package.
Right, sure.
So there's some. It is interesting how Netflix is becoming almost like a game subscription too, but like an ultra mini Xbox Game Pass kind of thing. If you have a Netflix subscription.
Very many, very many.
Yeah.
Reading, I was just checking up. I didn't read the full press release, even though I think I'm the one who linked it. It says here specifically, take the game with you wherever they go with Red Dead Redemption's debut on compatible iOS and Android devices, which includes mobile-friendly options, and Netflix members will also be able to download and play these versions on December 2nd as part of their subscription. It does sound like they are two separate things, but it's hard to say.
Yeah.
Sometimes these things are, exclusive or whatever.
Yeah. But I'm also not entirely sure if this is like the remastered version, because they did recently release Red Dead Remastered on PC and stuff.
They did, yeah.
So is this just the original ported, or is it the remaster? I don't know.
That they also did not say.
Yeah, but it's also not like the remaster touched up all that much, really. I mean, it still looks better than the original, but it's not like a full remake or anything. So.
No. Yeah, that came out a year ago in October 2024. So, but that was the first time I think it was released on PC at all. So that's why it was more notable.
Yeah, definitely.
Never got around to it.
Rockstar can take quite a while between PC releases.
Yeah. The side note, GTA 6 got delayed again as well. I think now to maybe fall 2026 or something like that. Yeah. Keeps getting pushed back. So
hopefully this time it was delayed because Apple showed up with a big bag of money saying native Mac port on day one.
We can hope. Yeah, we should talk a little bit about this, even though we could ramble a while. But like what games do we want Apple to fund ports of next, or sponsor, or whatever you call it, whatever Apple's involvement is in some of these titles. Outside of that, unfortunately, the Mac game porting scene is, I'm not going to call it dead and gone, but it's absolutely on life support. Aspire is long gone. Oh my God, what was their name? Not Feral, but the other third one who used to do stuff here and there haphazardly. It feels like it started with a V or something.
There was virtual something.
Yeah, virtual programming.
Was that
they were always kind of sketchy, even back in the day. Obviously, we're talking more somewhat contemporary time. We used to have Macsoft and all those other people way back in the 90s. They're also long gone, but
Feral is still going strong though.
Well, they're going strong broadly. I wouldn't say they're necessarily going strong in the Mac area. They're going strong with lots of mobile ports and Switch ports and stuff like that. And apparently they're doing very well there.
They're definitely expanding a bit and doing more things than just Mac ports. Their iOS ports are doing really well from both a performance and a settings perspective. Like they're doing really good on that front. And I do hope and kind of almost expect really that is going to benefit the Mac in the long run as well. I think Feral's work on Apple's dream of a unified Apple gaming platform is, even though some of these games haven't made the way to Mac yet, I do think their work there is going to benefit the Mac in the long run. But I don't know. We'll see on that. But I do think Feral is still totally invested in the Mac in the long run, even if they're also branching out and doing other things.
Yeah, no, I agree. I didn't mean to disparage them, even if it sounded negative. I love Feral, always have, probably always will, unless they just abandon us. But, it is what it is. They got to do what they got to do. I won't hold it against them. But no, they're definitely super invested. That's clear. It's just, for example, last year, 2024, we had 0 Mac keyword released from them. They did mobile stuff. This year, I think we got Total War Rome 2, but that's, like a 20-year-old or whatever Total War game. Not super hyped about it. Yeah, but we'll see. We'll see if again, it's hard to say because some people, some studios randomly do internal ports versus outsourcing it now to someone like Feral. But I do agree. I think they're doing like top tier work in the mobile space from what I've seen. And I don't tune in super closely, but I do occasionally. If I was a mobile person, I still have a Feral Press Pass. I can go and look at all their stuff. I could get codes, but I'm just not a mobile gamer. Sorry, mobile gamer fans. Yeah, it's, as we've discussed before, like anytime I would sit down to play a game, it would be in a chair at a desk with a bigger screen. So why would I play it on my phone when I can play it on my computer? Or, sure, I travel and stuff, but I honestly almost thought about getting an iPad and buying XCOM 2 or something. I think they have that on. And I was like, I really like XCOM. I think I could put up with the mobile version because, I'm a snob. But I never got around to it because I had an iPad, then ended up selling it to my brother-in-law, blah, blah, blah. So I don't have an iPad. So I'd have to, the cost of the game isn't really whatever it is, $20, $40. It's iPad cost plus the game's cost. So I'm like, I can't buy an iPad to occasionally use it when I travel on an airplane.
No. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And like if you're in that mindset of wanting to buy a gaming device for travel, you might as well buy a Switch or something, or a Steam Deck or whatever.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. Correct, Amundo. But that's, my buddy loves he has a Switch and his wife has a Switch. He has the Steam Deck. They're big fans of it, but he's always been a fan of mobile gaming. Like he also plays stuff on his phone all the time. So right up his alley. So yeah,
I do think it's really cool that the iPhone and iPad and stuff are getting quote unquote proper games. And I really think that Apple's initiative with Apple Arcade to get rid of mobile transactions in these games that are what we traditionally consider mobile games, but getting rid of all of the really negative parts of that, especially for children, I think it's all great. But it is an entirely different market. Even the AAA classic traditional games on mobile, it's just going to be a different experience when you're playing it on a 6.5-inch screen with your fingers covering half the screen on a bus or whatever, right? It just is inherently a different experience, and it's targeting different audience, different lifestyle, different environments, and that can be great. And I do love for the people who get to experience these things the way they can experience it if they're not capable of getting an environment where they can just sit down in front of a big monitor or TV, that they have this option. That's fantastic.
Absolutely.
But it is just different to what we have and what we want to do, right? And what fits for our lives.
So definitely some action there. Do I have a game? I mean, if I had a game wish list, I mean, we do know there's still more stuff coming. Oh my God, what's Hideo Kojima's weird game about being, the futurist delivery guy? Death Stranding. No, Death Stranding 2, I believe, is already confirmed coming to Mac. That's sometime next year, probably. I think. I'm pretty sure it is, from what I recall.
Okay.
I'd have to go back and look at that list of photos from a while ago to see what hasn't come out yet. I know that now, to be clear, I'm talking about AAA stuff. There's little indie things releasing all the time. And again, there's a really great thread over at Inside Mac Games where people post like every little game that either has a demo or is confirmed coming to Mac. To be fair, confirmed coming for Mac doesn't 100% mean it's coming to Mac, because every now and then they go, it's coming to Mac, and then they drop the Mac port. It never happens. RIP. Yeah. So it's not really confirmed for Mac till it's out and actually released, but most of the time it is. I'm trying to go back and look at that image. I know there's some big MMO or there's a couple like RPG adventure games. I don't want to call them like Skyrim, but a big open world single player RPG. I think there's some MMO stuff. There's always something coming, but I'm talking about, I guess, mostly about single or player co-op things, like i.e. the next Cyberpunk or Baldur's Gate style game. Not really one on the horizon overtly. Like we know that's coming, that it's in the pipe, like it's on the way, kind of a thing.
I mean, I've mentioned this on the podcast before, but I feel like a problem we have is that either we have something to play right now or we have something to look forward to. We never really have both at the same time.
Yeah.
And right now I feel like, they've dropped a couple of games recently, but there's not much to look forward to right now. At least for
Correct.
the kind of games, you
That
mentioned.
word that like that are you and I's targeted,
Yeah, yeah.
preferences. Yeah, absolutely. Like there's plenty of stuff to play right now. You could go play Cyberpunk or AC Shadows or any number of cool indie games that are out and about and play well on all the silicon hardware and everything. Or you can
Mm-hmm.
play someone with your friends and so on. But yes, that's right now. And a lot of these games are big. You can put 50, 100 hours into them, maybe more if you really want, especially like repeat playthroughs or something. You can put hundreds of hours into certain games.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've gotten out of my degenerate MOBA days, so I'm no longer just sinking hundreds and thousands of hours into Dota or Heroes of the Storm. And those games, you don't really care about other games. You're only just when's the next patch, when's the next hero, when's the next balance update, when's the next tournament. Like that's its own, little ecosystem of games like MMO, in my opinion, like MMOs and MOBAs. Um, which I used to be greatly sucked into, not anymore. So I'm always looking for something else. Yeah. So that being said, as you were alluding to earlier with crossover, Code Weavers, etc., or maybe GeForce Now, there usually is a cool game you could play. It's just not necessarily Mac native. For example, Dispatch came out quite recently, though it's had a demo for a while. Works really well in crossover, like flawlessly on my M1 Pro machine. So I think most silicon hardware would run great because it's not a demanding game. It's from a lot of the veterans of the original Telltale, which, if you follow that studio, it's had its own saga of highs and lows, and they all got disbanded and then reformed, but with different employees. So it's not really, anyway, they're now called Ad Hoc Studios. And if you played a Telltale game before, this is quite similar, but they've added more, I guess, for lack of a better word, quote unquote, game to it. It's still very much that interactive TV style, if episodic. Though I think this one has 8 episodes, if I recall, not 6, which is most of their other games. I think were 6 in the old days.
Mm.
So there's 8 episodes, which is a fair amount. It's extremely well animated. It's a superhero sort of comedy / dark comedy.
What's the big narrative hook? Because I've not heard of this, but yeah.
The big narrative hook, basically you're a former hero who's basically sort of been demoted or lost their prestige or whatever. And now you work in an office at the Dispatch, hence the name, and you're guiding superheroes. This is where the mini games or game part comes in. You go to your desk. There's all this, Telltale style stuff. You're in the office. You're making choices, talking to people, whatever. Then you sit down and start your job. And, you have like a computer screen of the city and various, incidents, crimes, whatever are getting reported. It could be as cliche as, a cat stuck in a tree or a bank robbery. There's other weird things going on. And you have a whole roster of heroes. These are like the rejects. This is like the B team or the C team. They're all weirdos. They all got issues. They're all quirky, whatever. And you have to choose as the dispatcher, but you're a character, though I forget his name. Sorry. It's voiced by Aaron Paul, though. Most people know him as Jesse Pinkman from Breaking Bad. Most of the voice cast is famous. Half of them are like Critical Role people and some other streamers
nice.
and whatever. So
Very
it's
nice.
very well voiced, very well animated. But the game part is it's up to you. You can choose who to assign to the various, crimes or incidents. And all the heroes have different stats and traits, so things they're good and bad at. For example, you have like a giant hulking brute dude. So it's like, would you send him to go rescue a cat from a tree? Probably not, because he's not particularly agile. He lacks finesse, blah, blah, blah. But he's probably great to go send to, stop a robbery or something, for example. So some of it's a little rock, paper, scissory, but sometimes it's unexpected. Like there's a pretty good demo. I think it lasts like 45 minutes. I think it's about half of the first episode or maybe less. And sometimes, but then it's not as simple as just assigning them to it. First, they have to travel there. And this is all, it's like real time. You can't just sit there and do nothing. Because, the incidents are going on and they have to travel to the incident and then back to the hero office or whatever it's called. And then during the incidents, especially if it's more complex, like a robbery or something, choices will pop up. They'll phone in like, hey, we've got this issue or we can't get in. So then you in real time can suggest they do something. Or sometimes you have to do a little hacking mini game to get them in a door or something. you'll see all the tropes there. There's a Batman who's literally turns into a bat. There's Invisigirl, whatever. But say you send the Invisible Girl to the robbery. I didn't do this, but I noticed I could after. You get a bunch of choices. Like, oh no, here's the active robbery. They have to save the hostages. What are you going to do? And for example, this is early on in the game, so it's not a spoiler. An option is like, there's like tags, and it's like if Invisible Girl was here, she could turn invisible, sneak in, and knock them out or something. But I didn't have her because I'm like, her stats were low. She doesn't have good strength and this and that. I was expecting they have to go in there and fight. But I was like, oh, you could send different heroes with different specialties and actually achieve objectives in different ways. So it's like a mini real-time strategy game, sort of.
The premise sounds pretty fun.
It is. I don't know how good it sounds, but when I played it, I was surprised how fun it was. And I'm like, this is really fun. I kind of want a whole game about this. Nice. Because the heroes also level up, and then you can assign, like, you get to choose like what stats they gain and stuff. I don't know how much that develops over the course of the 8 episodes. But there's a whole story there. You're trying to find redemption as this former hero and figure things out, and wrangle your team because they're all a bunch of misfits, but you're their boss. And as far as I can tell, at least based on the demo and some reviews, I tried to keep it spoiler free. The choices are more substantial than in previous Telltale games, where it was sort of all roads lead to the same place. Now, that you're still playing the broader story beats out, it is a linear game in that sense. But like the relationships with all the characters is quite distinct in how you treat them. You can be nice to them, you can be neutral, you can be harsh on them because you're basically the boss. And they obviously push back on things. So you can get into arguments and people remember things and it plays out. There's some romance options, more than one. So it's probably good for at least two or three playthroughs, I suspect.
I've never really minded when it's just like pure illusion of choice and everything actually does resolve the same way. Yeah.
I don't mind it.
As long as it feels like the choice naturally leads to the consequences.
Yes.
I don't really care if a different choice would also feel like it naturally led to the same consequences.
Yeah, it's never bothered me. I just know some people took real issue with it, like back in the day, and I don't blame them. They want more like Baldur's Gate, where it's like everything is, hugely consequential. But it's gotten a really good reception, which is nice. It's sold over 1 million copies already, really quickly. Had over 100,000 people playing it on Steam. Cool. Not day one, but I think because they're releasing 2 episodes per week, so I think it took a month for them to all roll out. And then I think somewhere in the middle there, like the player count really went up. I believe all the episodes just dropped this weekend, the last 2, or maybe it was last weekend. But it's getting amazing reviews from critics, users. Everyone's like, more games from Ad Hoc Studios, or a season 2 of Dispatch, or I heard someone actually, I think PC Gamer wrote an article like, could you just make an entire game out of that Dispatch minigame? Because it's really fun, and just make a little like almost RTS style game. But can't be really undersold. The animation and everything, extremely sharp, the graphics. Personally, I have like superhero fatigue. I don't want to watch superhero movies. I don't want to play superhero games. I had a long phase of that. Yeah. Video games, media, everything. Comics.
I think Marvel brought us all there for a while.
Yes, you're not wrong. So I was a little worried when I tried the demo, because there was a demo, and again, it works great in crossover. I was a little worried. I'm like, superheroes. But I was like, old Telltale guys, I love their stuff. Huge fan. Wolf Among Us, still one of my favorite games of all time. And I tried it, and I was pleasantly surprised, mostly because the writing is really, really good. Like, top tier writing. Smart, funny, clever, wicked, brutal. Like, it's really good. And your choices feel consequential from what I could tell in the demo. Or even if it was the illusion of it, it was very well done. This is very much like more R-rated, I would say, than their previous games from Telltale. I mean, a lot of the games are always R-rated for violence, but this is very R-rated just for language. Like right off the bat. I mean, the 45-minute demo, I probably heard like 100 F words, maybe not 100, but there was a lot. I'm exaggerating.
Yeah, okay.
Good 10 to 20 and some other, rude language in there. I don't mind this. I'm just pointing it out. Like, it's not like a lighthearted comedy. It's like these are a bunch of basically messed up adults, and, they're thrown in a weird workplace and they're figuring it out. So there's a lot of, for lack of a better word. And it's not like toilet humor or something. The comedy's more mature or occasionally dark, which is more of my alley.
Mm-hmm.
So just throwing that out there. I mean, all the warnings are there. It's an M-rated game,
Yeah.
but a whole long list of things for violence and language and sexuality and blah, blah, blah. Some of the things that usually weren't so prominent is usually just violence in the other games, like Walking Dead and Borderlands and stuff.
Yeah.
We're mostly just violent rather than, all this other stuff. So
It sounds pretty good.
I think it's really good. I'm probably going to play it more later today. Big fan of it. Again, sadly, no Mac version. It also is not on GeForce Now, though I made a Steam thread, whatever, discussion requesting it. Maybe it'll show up on it later.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they've been wildly successful. And the studio head, I forget his name, said they weren't, they felt they had a good game in their hands, but weren't expecting this much success. So they're already like, okay, now that they've done really well financially, they're already discussing, their next game, or maybe even a season 2 or whatever you want to call it, of Dispatch.
Mm-hmm.
So that's great. I think we've had a void where Telltale used to be for quite some time. And there's definitely people who have taken stabs at it. But I don't think any of them have done it to the same level especially as those like original Telltale stuff, like the Walking Dead series. The Borderlands one was shockingly good, actually. So it's been fun. Dispatch, Bad Hawk Studios, works great in crossover. It's a $30 game, 8 episodes, so nothing crazy. I think each episode is 1.5, 2 hours approximately, or something like that. Maybe some of them vary. I don't think they're all, an exact like to the minute length. Some of them are probably a little shorter, some are a little longer, but as far as I know, that's the average per episode from what I heard. So.
But you also said there's a demo, so people can just try it and see what they think before they buy.
Correctamundo.
I always really like when there's demos available, not just for one platform, because sometimes you see a game that actually has a Mac version and there's just Windows demo only. But I really like demos, the chance to actually see what something is like before you buy it and not just rely on watching reviews or listening to us yap on about it or whatever. But you can actually just, go try it and see what you think.
Yeah, honestly, if there wasn't a demo, I would not have tried this game. Mm-hmm. Like, I was like, okay, kind of interesting, but like I said, superhero fatigue, whatever. Mm-hmm. Sure, Telltale, and, theme isn't doing it for me. Then I tried the demo, and I'm like, oh, snap, this is really good. Mm-hmm. Probably going to buy this thing. Okay, I have bought this thing. It's fantastic. Peeking at the Steam, player count, it does seem the average player count is like 12, 15 hours to finish it. So I was more or less spot on. 1.5, 2 hours per episode. So
I think that's a pretty good length for an experience like that.
Yeah, $30 is not going to break the bank, but yeah. And again, voice acting, tip top, because it's done basically by all professional voice actors. I think it's Aaron Paul, again, Jesse Pinkman from Breaking Bad, if you don't know him otherwise. Though he doesn't sound like his Breaking Bad self. He's not out there like, science, bitch, or whatever, He sounds different, but, he's very well acted by him as the main character. Because there's a lot of drama in the show. There's a lot of emotions, and the characters do well with it. So, being, angry or upset or sad or dealing with BS, whatever. So, I think... the other most notable voice actress would be Laura Bailey of Critical Role fame, but she's been in
she's fantastic. Things. What she? I think she was also in The Last of Us, wasn't she?
She was.
Wasn't she Ellie? Yeah.
Yep. No, that was the other Critical Role lady. I forget her name.
Okay.
Her friend castmate. She played Ellie's the main girl in The Last of Us, right? Because I've never played it.
She's the child you're escorting.
Yeah. In The Last of Us 2, there's another girl who's like the antagonist. Laura Bailey plays that girl.
Right. Yeah.
Whoever that is.
I forgot her name, but yeah.
Yeah. But that's who Laura Bailey plays. Mm-hmm. Let me see. Last of Us, Ellie. Oh my god, her name's...
I'm going to guess it's like a T word, like Tanya or something, but I can't remember.
Ashley Johnson. There we go.
That's Ellie, right?
That's Ellie. Yeah. In both games. I don't know if she's in it, but like half the Critical Role cast is in there, and a few other people. But so it's all really well done. So, But yeah, that's Dispatch. So, all the old Telltale games had Mac ports, or almost all of them. So towards the end, they started, I think, stopping porting to Mac because things were getting weird or squirrely with their finances or whatever. But yeah, we can hope. They are a brand new studio, ad hoc. And I like the name too, ad hoc, right? Like thrown together. It's well done, improvised, basically. So, who knows? Maybe later we'll get a Mac port. Or again, it runs really easy through crossover, if nothing else. So, and again, games like this aren't demanding hardware wise as well, which is nice. Like low spec, high quality, like that's a great place to be. Basically runs anywhere, not too expensive, but very well done, very enjoyable. Pretty much everyone's loving it. And again, if you have superhero fatigue like me, like I will not touch a superhero movie or game. I tried the demo. I love this game. Was like, whoa, this is really good. So at least check it out if you're in the same space as me. That would be my advice.
Yeah, I think that spot of like low spec requirements and still being very fun and engaging, especially for portable devices, not like handhelds necessarily, but like laptops as well.
Yeah,
is fantastic because you can get much longer battery life with that sort of game. And there are a lot of Macs out there that are laptops, right? So it's great for that sort of environment. Speaking of something that is not actually on our show notes, but I want to touch on real fast.
Yeah.
Last week or the week before that, I forget which, Apple did a little developer session for game developers. It was just a small thing that they announced fairly briefly before they actually did it. It was a YouTube and developer.apple.com live stream and video on demand thing.
Right.
They didn't announce anything exactly new as far as I could tell. I only had it on in the background, didn't pay that much attention. But it wasn't like a brand new thing. It was just focus on game development for what they call the unified Apple gaming platform, which, Apple, iPhone, iPad, Apple Vision, Mac, whatever, all of the stuff.
Right.
I just find it encouraging that there is this out of cycle, like not happening at WWDC or anything like that, focus on game developers and bringing games to the platforms. And it seemed like more than in the past, they understood the target they had to hit, because they weren't talking about a lot of events like this in the past before Apple Silicon, like way in the past. When Apple did similar things, they would focus on what you need to do to make a top tier Mac game from scratch, like not considering any other platform existing out there, not considering that you already have a game engine, and like how do you develop for, back in the day, OpenGL or Metal or whatever, and pure Apple API is nothing else.
Right.
But for this talk, they had a lot of focus on, well, we've actually made a plugin for Unity. If you have an Unreal Engine game, this is what you do. Talking to these existing solutions that people might have. They hyped up their development environment plugins for Visual Studio running on Windows machines that can, if you have a Mac on the network, you can just build straight from your Windows development environment in Visual Studio, push it to the Mac for testing and that sort of thing. It seemed like they understood the game developer ecosystem more this time than they have done 10 years ago or whatever. I'm still comparing from a long period ago, time ago.
Sure.
In more recent events, the past 5 years or whatever, it has been the same as this. I'm just encouraged by the continued understanding of the environment that they're developing for. We had Nat Brown, for an interview a couple of, at this point, like a couple of tens of episodes ago or something. And he also talked about how it could at times be irritating that it felt like there was this disconnect between what Apple was targeting and the reality of game development environments. Yes. So I really do think it's encouraging that there is this understanding of not just gamers, but also game developers out there, the reality of the environments they're developing for, and that if we want games on the Mac, we can't expect the Mac to be the primary target for these AAA games. we have to understand that they're developing first and foremost for PlayStation, Xbox, PC,
Yeah.
and of course we want the port to the Mac to be as good as possible, utilizing as much Apple specific technologies as possible to get the best out of the platform.
Right.
But we have to make it easy to integrate into existing solutions rather than expecting a ground up solution to happen, because that's just going to make it prohibitively expensive to port to Mac.
Right. Definitely.
And they also hyped up the game porting toolkit, not just as the evaluation environment that you and I would use through crossover
Right.
or whatnot, but the whole suite, the sample projects that it comes with for developers, and the little step-by-step guides, and the illustrations of how to take your shader code from DirectX to Metal, and all of this stuff. It was like 3 hours long or something, so it's a pretty important thing that they're still doing this, even at odd times like this that aren't connected to any special event like WWDC or any announcement or anything. They just, let's focus on game developers.
Nice.
I just wish it would have also come with an announcement of an actual game being ported to Mac, because going back to what I said earlier, it feels like we're in a bit of a lull. There's not much happening in the announcement space for Mac games. So it's a bit of a funky situation where they're focusing on bringing in developers to make Mac games, while the horizon is empty of announcements for Mac games.
Yeah.
But hopefully it pays off.
It just occurred to me, Resident Evil 9 Requiem is coming, I think, early next year. They didn't explicitly announce a Mac port, but every other Resident Evil game has come to the Mac in short order, so
yeah,
it must be coming to Mac as well. So if you're a horror Resident Evil fan, that's a pretty big title coming out next year at least. So
yeah, but we've had like 8 Resident Evil games come out in the span of 4 years or something.
Yeah.
It no longer excites me. I'm done.
No, it's saturation. I played 3 of them in a row earlier this year. RE3, 2, then RE4. I kind of did a little rubber band there. But yeah, fun. But yeah, I was all hyped up, and now I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to play Requiem. I've sort of Resident Evil'd out for the moment. But, it's going to be a big release. It's already one of the top wish listed. Yeah, just this is like a quick aside, but on the same subject, looking at the most wish listed games on Steam, which is a reasonable, look at what people are hyped about. Number 1, Subnautica 2, which is wild. I didn't know. I knew it was
1
popular.
had a Mac port, I'm pretty sure.
It absolutely did. Yeah, I remember demoing that way back, and oh my god, I went to PAX East, I think in 2013, and they had a booth. It was like one of the last things I saw, and I'm like, what's this? You had to go all this in like a submarine-style booth thingy. It was actually pretty cool. I was like, oh, what's this game? Yes, huge game. Number 1 at a port. I don't think they even necessarily announced a port, but I wouldn't be surprised if it does. Number 2 is Deadlock by Valve. Again, no Mac port, but almost. Asterisk. Every other Valve game has a Mac port.
Yeah, I'm skeptical on that one.
I'm skeptical as well, sadly.
Yeah, Valve used to do Mac ports, but Counter-Strike 2, no Mac port.
Yeah.
Half-Life Alyx, obviously that's a VR thing. It's a bit different, I don't know, but still, you couldn't run it if you had a Valve Index or a Steam Index. Was it called Valve Index or Steam Index? Whichever one.
Valve Index. It's Valve Index, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a Steam frame and the Valve Index. Anyway, you can play it on that through a Mac, and I feel like they're still doing really good Steam client updates from Mac. They made it Apple Silicon native. They followed the 64-bit transition and all that. But I do feel like they've gotten a bit upset or tired of dealing with Apple development for their game side. And I think also the fact that they now have their own Steam OS means that they, instead of seeing Mac OS as the way to not be wholly reliant on Microsoft and Windows, they're now like, well, we have our own thing, so by just porting to that, it's fine. We don't need to support the Mac. So I'm sadly skeptical. I don't actually expect Valve to port much to macOS anymore. I expect them to
Oh yeah,
port the foundational things, but not their own in-house games. But
yeah,
everything like that
yeah.
supports the games, I think we'll get.
Yeah, I don't expect it either. I only think because they still quite nicely support Dota 2 for Mac, and they keep updating its shaders and performance and this and that, which is nice. So I'm like, well, this is basically a MOBA shooter. So maybe it's as simple as there needs to be some dude at Valve who's like, I really want to port this to Mac, and then it happens. Otherwise, it won't happen. I don't know, because they have some free form, corporate
Hmm.
whatever business structure where everyone can kind of do whatever. Apparently,
Yeah, I definitely think that if there is a push within Valve by just one or a couple of employees to do it, and they can put together a prototype fairly fast, I do think it'll happen. Because yeah, it seems like Valve's culture is like that. That if a couple of employees just go, "We want to
yeah.
do this," and then they can show it to people, then yeah, they can
Right. Or
get
yeah, assemble
backing.
a little team to get it done or something. That's, I
Yeah.
believe, the only way it's going to happen. I agree with you. I doubt there's any sort of official, like you said, for all the reasons you just cited, any official timeline or structure for that or plan for that to happen. But
Mhm.
yeah, Steam will keep being supported. Their old games that have Mac are still supported. Blah blah blah. But we'll see. Another game that probably could run in crossover, or I think all their other games are in GeForce now. So one way or the other, you can probably play it on Mac. But
Mhm.
we'll see. Did you want to? Because I rambled a lot about Dispatch. I'm not going to ramble about Borderlands 4 because that'll take me like half an hour. I finished. I put like 70, 80 hours into the game by now. Finished it, and so I will finished it, quote unquote. That can be another time. Not no rush. But any game you wanted to bring up?
Yeah. So I finished Assassin's Creed Shadows since our last podcast.
Right.
Um, I put quite a lot of hours into it. I don't know the exact amount because it would say in my save file, but it's not on Steam. I got it through the Mac App
Yeah.
Store, so there's no. The Games app doesn't tell you this.
Right.
But I put a lot of hours into it. I had fun throughout all of it, but I never had a lot of fun. Like it was those things that it kept me entertained, and I think it's one of those games that could honestly keep me entertained indefinitely. But I would never be very entertained. Like I would. There's so much other stuff that would lead to more fun. But I think if you just want to like turn your brain off and just be like mildly entertained, I recommend it. But if you
Right.
want something that's really good, I don't recommend it.
Right.
um, Both like the narrative and the gameplay and everything, it was lukewarm throughout. It was comfortable, fun enough. That's my review.
Like 6.5, 7 out of 10 kind of range, basically.
I don't know because like you can tell that the people involved in making it are really competent. They can
Right.
make great things happen. There are moments in the game that are fantastic. But the vast majority of it is samey, entertaining enough, but samey, and you're just going through the motions. Um, and you're having a good time. You're enjoying the animations. You're enjoying the flow of it all. But it's never special. Um, I guess it just suffers from being an Ubisoft game.
Right.
Um, because people have made fun of you climb the towers to reveal a bit of the map, and then you destroy a faction or the stronghold or whatever it's called in any
Yeah.
particular game, right? It's
Right.
the exact same with Assassin's Creed Shadow, and it's happened in Far Cry games, and it's happened like it's the Ubisoft thing. And if they had made this game to be 40 hours long or 30
Yeah.
hours long or 20 instead of however ungodly many hours I spent on it,
Probably 100.
frankly, probably even more
I'm
than
pretty
that.
sure you told me it was over 100 when because I asked you. You're like, I'm like, how many hours? It was at least 100 something
I
hours.
think so too, yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it's beyond 120 even.
Yeah.
If they condensed it down to a 40-hour game or 30 or something, made the map significantly smaller, because there's also just a lot of nothing on the map. It could have been a spectacular and fantastic game. I genuinely think that if they condensed it that much down to 30 hours, it could have been a 10 out of 10. Instead, it winds up being like a 7 because it is just
Yeah. No, you're not
it's
wrong.
yeah, it's just spread too thin.
Yeah, the games, everyone pretty much complains about it, even people who like their games.
Mm-hmm.
Has some good highs, but too bloated, too much grind, too much random stuff, and too many hoops to jump through to do this thing and that thing.
Yep.
And the game, they weren't always that way. They started, like you said, Assassin's Creed itself as a series started way leaner, way more focused, much more on
Mm-hmm.
the story, much shorter. But then each release just got a little wider, wider,
Yeah.
wider, wider. And now, 10 or whatever, 15 releases later, we're like, oh my God, this is way like, I felt that way about Valhalla, even though I think it's overall a better game than Shadows.
Mm-hmm.
Incredibly fun. The theme is on point. The music's amazing. The graphics are great. The set pieces are incredible. But 30 hours, I think I played it for about 35 hours, and I'm like, and then I remember I just very distinctly remember opening the map, and it shows you your progress.
Mm-hmm.
And I hadn't looked at it in a while. And I was like, man, I got to be at least like halfway through the game or something. But like, am I close to the end? And it was like, campaign progress, 32%. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, you what? Like, bro, I'm not putting another 60 50 hours into this game. Like, it's really good, but I'm done. I'm
Yeah.
done.
I think if I had
yeah.
played an Assassin's Creed more recently, because like the last one I played was like Revelations back in the
Yeah.
Ezio trilogy,
Oh,
right?
okay. Wow. Yeah.
I did play a bit of Black Flag and stuff, but like I didn't finish any games since
Oh,
Revelation.
okay. I
If
finished
I had
Black Flag.
played them more recently than that, I would not have finished Shadows.
Yeah, I was shocked how you kept going. Because they're really big to finish.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with AC Odyssey, the Greek one. I played a fair bit of it, but I'm like, this is just too much stuff. This is like 4 games crammed into one.
Yeah.
Very ambitious, but just too much going on.
Mm-hmm.
Too big budget. They take them like 6 to 8 years to make. They expect you to play it for hundreds of hours. It's just like, if Valhalla was this way, there's a completely optional game within a game where you drink a, mushroom potion or something and literally like go to Valhalla and you're running around as Thor and Odin and stuff. But you're not really with their powers. They're the same. You have all the same abilities, just your skin changes. But then you're playing out their stories and it's completely optional. And I kept playing it like, oh, this will be an interesting little side quest. But no, I looked it up. It's like, oh, yeah, this is like a 20, 30-hour side quest thing you can just do. And I'm like,
Jesus
who took
Christ.
the time to put this like game within a game that's already like multiple games in one? Like, this is just too much stuff, bro. Like, stop it. Stop it,
Mm-hmm.
Ubisoft. That was still, I think, their best selling game of all time. And that's because everyone likes Vikings and Vikings are cool.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very good Viking simulator, much in the way that Black Flag was a very good pirate simulator.
Yeah.
And rumor has it they're doing a Black Flag remake because it's kind of low key, or maybe not so low key, the most popular AC game because
Mm-hmm.
everyone loves pirates. And it had probably the least bloat of any AC game, especially for its time. Like, it was still before the huge like AC Odyssey is when the Egyptian one.
Origins.
Origins is when it first went like big world RPG and whatever, like half Witcher style or whatever.
Yeah.
Black Flag, so it wasn't like that, but it's still, it has all the islands and you can go around and do stuff and chase down, say, little scraps of paper to get sea shanties. But the sea shanties were banger, to be honest. So I did some of that. Yeah, we'll
so don't
see.
get me
But
wrong,
yeah,
I don't mind having like extra content in there. It's just there's
there's
scale
way too much stuff.
and yeah, it's insane.
It's just too much. Some people like that, but I think the average gamer would probably be like, yeah, could you pare it down by like half, maybe to like max cap it, like make it like a 30-hour game with like 10 to 20 hours of optional content if you want to muck around in the world.
Yeah.
Like that would be great. Not like an 80-hour game with like 100 to 150 hours of extra stuff to do. It's just like, oh my God, make it stop. The game did get fairly, again, most of the reviews for the game are around 7. It ranges from people giving it like a 6 to an 8, so it averages about a 7, and it gets a lot of complaints for being grindy and repetitive and blah blah. It's just too long.
I also feel like the story had some promising leads, but I feel like the story had a beginning and an ending, and then like a lot of nothing.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
But I guess that's also necessitated by the fact that you have a game that is 100 and whatever many hours long, where the vast majority of it is clearing encampments and doing side stuff and stuff, and you do have, but then again, you also had so many main quests that didn't feel like they added to the main quest narrative at all. They were just mandatory to get to the ending, but they didn't even feel like they connected to the main story.
Right.
Absolute insanity that they spent so much development time on something that feels so superfluous in the grand scheme of things. But
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
whatever.
That's
It's a
the
fun
current
time
template.
if you
Yeah.
just want a fun time, but it's nothing
Yeah.
more than that.
Yeah, I felt like it's the kind of game I would probably buy if it was $10 or $20, but
Mhm.
not really. Like, I love the Japanese idea of the theme, but based on a lot of I've seen, I'm like, well, this would be cool, but this might annoy me and whatever. So I already
Mm.
talked about that way back when it was first announced 10 episodes ago or something.
Yeah.
So it's cool. I'm interested to see where they take AC next. I do hope they pivot and or at least if they're not going to scale back the scope of Assassin's Creed inherently, maybe alternate releases where they have these smaller scope games in between,
Mm.
one or two of them, and then, every 5 or whatever years release like a big bonanza Assassin's Creed game like the way they are currently. So at least you have an option. Like, okay, I like the idea of Assassin's Creed, but I don't want to commit this much time to it. Could you give me a more focused experience, smaller experience, like they smaller quote unquote, like a 30 to 50 hour game isn't that small.
Mm.
It's just
Yeah.
small in comparison to what they are now.
Absolutely.
Um, I would be more, and again, maybe it's not a $70, $80 game, maybe it's a $50 game. And I was like, oh, that would be nice.
Mm.
So we'll see what they do.
Mhm.
Some interesting things did happen with Ubisoft as a company after AC Shadows released. That is to say, Tencent bought part of them, and a bunch of their IPs were spun off to other people, and this and that and the other thing. So
Yeah.
it'd be very interesting to see what the next version of Assassin's Creed actually is.
Mhm.
I have a feeling it'll be different. So we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, for hopefully for the better, but
Hopefully for the better. We can't say it's for the better inherently, but they've obviously just become too formulaic for a long time. Never mind AC Shadows. This has been happening for like 5 or 10 years, So shake up I mean, that could happen to anyone. Anyone just uses the same thing forever. Gets pretty
Mhm.
stale. You gotta iterate or innovate or do something different or spin off in a cool way or whatever.
Mhm.
And AC hasn't really done that as a series. Like they that happened when they did like Odyssey and Origins and Valhalla, but then it kind of got like even then people like who played all of them started complaining about it. Like that just kind of playing the same game reskinned,
Mhm.
you know. If you just play one of them, oh maybe this is really cool. But you
Yeah.
play them all, it's like we're back to square one.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we'll see what they do, but hopefully again, whatever it is they do, comes to Mac. Hopefully, so
But so after I finished AC Shadows, I went on to play Frostpunk,
nice.
and my experience with
Frostpunk one
that,
or two.
just one for now, but Frostpunk 2 is on my radar.
Okay.
I've had Frostpunk 1 on my Steam library for quite a while, and it's been sitting there like I want to get to that one day.
Yeah.
So after AC Shadows, I started that, and it's it's obviously like a completely different scale of game. It's not made by bloody Ubisoft, right, with their billions of resources. Um,
Right.
but I had more fun with it than I did with AC Shadows. Like, fun is not a measure of how big your game is, right?
Yeah.
But like playing Frostpunk, I was sitting there like, no, I'm not just having fun. I'm having a lot of fun. In contrast to AC Shadows, right? Um, it's it's so I found out that one of the types of games I really like the most is games that feel like any moment it's all over. Oh no, I've made such a big mistake. It's all gonna go wrong, but you actually make it through it all the way anyway. That's how I
Very
feel
much
with
Frostpunk.
XCOM 2. That's how I feel with Frostpunk, and it feels
Yeah.
great.
Yes.
Um, Also, like
Absolutely.
Souls games often have this feel where you're like it's just the right amount of difficulty that you can and you probably will push through it, um, but it is hard throughout, and you feel like it's not going well, but it is going well enough. Um, and Frostpunk really
Absolutely.
nails that. Yeah.
I think
Have
I
you played
reviewed
it?
it. Yeah. I think I reviewed it it's a 2018 game, but the Mac version came out like a year later or something, maybe even two. I played it for 10 or 12 hours, really enjoyed it, liked it a lot. I think I wrote a review But this is back on the now defunct Mac Gamecast website because I got tired of managing work and life and trying to run like a news and review website and the podcast. That was too much. I still have all that. A lot of the data is offline. I should probably just throw up some free archive or something because there's a lot of other cool writers who I assembled and did some good reviews and stuff, good content too. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's just my own ego, but no, it's a fun game. Highly recommended. Really fun city builder. I love the theme because I love snowy theme stuff. It's a post-apocalyptic world where instead of it being Mad Max, it's an Arctic blast. Everything is incredibly frozen, crazy low temperatures, and so the core of your city is in. There's some little narrative bits before, but you end up in this crater, and you have a furnace in the center of the city. I think it's called the. It might have a different name, but
the generator. The generator.
You can never let the generator go out because if you do, you're all going to freeze to death and die. Makes sense because you're in an apocalyptic winter, like forever. So the crux of the game is, building out around your generator, but you get to choose where and how and manage your workers and this and that, and societal choices and policies come up. And but assembling the right city and making sure people are warm and where to assign the coal and what to sacrifice and what to do. There's a lot of tension, a lot of clever choices that feel like the choice and consequence is great because instead of it feeling like, oh, the game's unfair, it's like, oh no, either A, like I built that building or that cluster really smartly, or you know what, looking at it now, I totally faffed it up. And of course, people are starving and dying and losing heat because I built it wrong, Yeah. My first run, I did horribly. And I think halfway through, I got exiled out into the snow as the leader and died. There's a little cutscene of like your character just walking out into the snow and it's like, you freeze to death a short while later. Then I tried it another time. It got better. And really fun game. I'm not a city builder guy inherently, so I didn't just play the game forever. I think I have 12 and a half hours or something in my Steam profile, but I enjoyed every minute of it when I played it.
I think I would also classify it more as a resource manager than a city builder. Obviously, it has city builder aspects because you are building out the city around the generator, but resource management is really the core.
That's true. Yeah.
So like apparently I didn't know this when I just knew I had it in my Steam library, but apparently the version I had was like an ultimate edition with all of the DLC.
Oh, okay.
I don't even remember where I got it. Maybe a Humble Bundle or something. No idea.
Probably.
But after I finished the main game, I immediately went on to what was called The Last Autumn, I think.
Yes.
Which is a prequel.
Well. Yep.
Yeah. And it was so fun how different it was. Because oh, I'm not cold. I'm not dying of frostbite. And like it was a completely different game, but using the same types of mechanics. They did such a good job of taking the core gameplay systems they had and building something completely different around it.
Absolutely. That one was really cool. I don't know if it was The Last Autumn or there's some other scenario where you have to, the apocalyptic winter is coming and everyone's like madly farming. You have to store all these seeds in silos.
Oh, that's a different one, but
that was also a really fun one because it's like a very specific like instead of sort of a generic just survive sort of thing, it's like you have to finish these tasks by this time or you're doomed because you're not going to have the food you need, That one was really fun too. Yeah, the core system's fantastic. They did really well. It's the same people who made This War of Mine, another old favorite of mine. I didn't mean it sounded funny. 11-bit studios, they do cool stuff. I think they're again Eastern European developer or Polish or something. They always have cool stuff story wise. The IP Frostpunk IP got pretty big. The game itself got really popular. There's a big budget board game that came out of it as well that was pretty popular. I never got around to buying it, but I might someday. Obviously, they made Frostpunk 2, which was reasonably successful. I heard not quite as successful as Frostpunk. Well, now 1 over 2. But still a good game by all accounts, but a much bigger game in scope. Instead of a little zoomed in thing, you're managing like an entire mega city or something instead. So,
right.
Personally, a little less interested in that. I prefer the more intimate, like smaller scale scope, but the theme is still there and the good production and the good story beats and all that kind of stuff. So,
I mean, for anyone who's interested in sort of like strategy, resource management, just a very fair challenge I highly recommend Frostpunk. Really
Yeah.
good.
Really, really good. 100%. Yeah, even though it's now a 7-year-old game, still honestly looks pretty good. And yeah, it's just really fun to play. Challenging but fair is an excellent way to put it. The game never feels unfair, but always challenging, as it should per the setting, you know?
Yeah.
So great game. 100%. Big fan. Frostpunk.
Absolutely.
I feel like I was thinking of something else. What was it? That's what I was going to say in relation to Assassin's Creed. A game that big, unless you're really hyped about it, and there are people who are, you can go look at its Steam reviews who are 120 hours, 150 hours, loved every moment of it. There's a lot of reviews more like yours. Like, this is thumbs up, but it's not really a thumbs down. The game's just kind of fine. Like, it's kind of a slog. It starts to feel like a chore, and that's the problem. That's how I felt with Valhalla. Like, I looked at it and I'm like, yeah, I have more fun just roaming around, like beating up random people or doing little side quests. I don't really want to go do the main story. It's just too big, too long, and it started to feel like a chore. So I stopped playing it. So a game like Frostpunk, not only is it like kind of a palate cleanser, if you will, but sometimes a game hits just right, whether it's well rated or not. Like, sure, Frostpunk's well rated by a lot of people, but I can't think of an example right now. But I played some games that weren't necessarily well rated, but in the moment, it was like, oh, this game is exactly what I wanted to play.
Yeah.
Or a decent example, though it's decently reviewed. It was Aliens Fire. What was it? Alien Dark Descent. That was it. Not Fireteam Elite. Not a Mac game. I played it back when I had my gaming PC a couple years ago. It's kind of a janky, half XCOM-y, half Aliens real-time strategy squad management game in the Aliens universe. I think it's the first or second game by some developer. Very janky, a lot of rough edges, but man, I really wanted to play a game like that year, that month.
Yeah.
I came home from work every day, did stuff, played it in the evening, finished it after whatever. It was like hit every note I wanted. No real complaints about it other than a little jank, but it was like perfect. But if you ask me like, hey, would you want to play that right now? I'd be like, no, not really. You know, but that year, I was like, this is exact. I didn't really know about the game. I just went looking like, man, I want to play a like real time strategy game, something a little darker, you know, but with some squad management and tech. Oh, alien thing is fun. So sometimes
I actually had a similar thing happen to me recently with the game I'm playing now, because I was telling my girlfriend about my experiences with Theme Hospital back in the day. And we were also talking about Roller Coaster Tycoon and all of the games from that era. And she like I was saying, I wish I could play Theme Hospital, but like as it was back then, because you know you have the way a game was, the way you remember it, and then if you actually boot up DOSBox and play it, you're like, oh, no, this isn't how I remember it, right? So I wish I could play Theme Hospital, but the way it is in my mind, not the way it actually is. And she then said, "Have you tried 2 Point? Like, what are you talking about? 2 Point? 2 Point Hospital?" And apparently that's like a new series of games similar to Theme Hospital. There's 2 Point Hospital, 2 Point college or university or campus, and museum. Yeah. I was like, I hadn't heard of this at all, but now I'm playing Theme Hospital. No, sorry, 2 Point Hospital, and I'm having a whale of a time because it is exactly what I wanted. It is the way I remember Theme Hospital.
Oh, it has a Mac version too. Cool.
Yeah, it does.
Nice. Excellent. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Similar thing. Or an old game I remember, blah, blah, blah. But is there some sort of updated, similar type of thing? Yeah. So, yeah, there's still no end of game releases and always something. But yeah, it's, you know, sometimes I'm a game snob and I'm like, I don't want to play anything from 5 or 10 years ago. But sometimes it's actually perfect.
Yeah,
it's just what the doctor ordered, so to speak. No pun intended on your hospital game. But we're in a lull. But just to wrap this up. But hardware remains excellent. General support for what we have remains excellent. You know, and we'll see what 2026 brings. We already know, there's a couple big budget things, nothing crazy, a few titles. There's always indie something coming along. Because I think, what was it? Oh my God, the bug game that everyone loses their minds about. Number 2, Hollow Knight.
The Silk Song, Hollow Knight Silk Song.
I don't know if that had released last time we talked 2 months ago. I don't remember, but I believe that is a Mac version, and
Mhm.
There's that was, I think, one of the most wish listed games on Steam before it released. So
Absolutely, it's a huge indie game. Like,
huge
well,
indie game,
I
right?
don't even know if you can. Well, Team Cherry is still independent, so yeah, it's a huge indie
Well,
game.
they're independent in the way, relatively speaking, like Larian Studios is independent, but they produce extremely high quality,
Yeah.
high quality stuff. I'm not saying they're exactly the same, but they're
Yeah,
still
Team Cherry
technically,
is still a fairly small studio, but they
yeah,
they crank out really high quality
really
stuff.
high quality
Well, I say
stuff.
crank out. They move really slowly to produce quite slowly really great stuff.
Right. Yeah. $20 game. Everyone's like, it's beating out all kinds of stuff. Like it has more players than Borderlands 4 and all this other like AAA stuff like hanging out,
Yeah.
which I think is a riot. The game isn't for me personally. A, bugs kind of creep me out, and B, I'm not really into like the Souls like sort of style game.
Hmm.
It's the
But
kind of
like,
game I would like to watch on Twitch or YouTube, but I wouldn't want to play myself.
I think my biggest compliment to them is just the level of polish is spectacular. It's not one of those games that come out and then it needs a million patches before it's somewhat playable. It's just polished to a perfect shine from day one, basically. So
Right.
yeah.
And that means a lot for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Yeah, so they deserve that success, so good for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it also I think it also plays really well on the Steam Deck and stuff like that. So maybe it's already on the Switch and all that jazz. I didn't
My
follow
girlfriend plays it on the Switch, and
Okay, there we go then. Yeah.
it runs perfectly on that at least. So yeah.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, good for them. Yeah. I don't know if we're going to do another episode before the end of the year. I might just put out a little PSA as I sometimes do. But we can try and meet in December. I am traveling December 23rd through January, I think 8th or 9th or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I won't be around for the actual New Year, which sometimes we are, and we should do an end of the year thing and talk about it with some of the other cast members on the show who are around on our Discord, but are only occasionally pop up on the show itself. Lily and Sam and stuff like that. Ted. But yeah, so we'll see if maybe we'll put out a short episode next month or a little wrap up episode or something if we can manage it. If we can't, then I'll just put out a little PSA before the end of the year.
Yep.
Something like that. But yeah, or maybe Apple will follow Valve and be like, well, bam, here's this really cool thing in December. They won't, but you can hope. Apple's does things on a very, very regulated schedule.
Yeah, I can't remember if they've ever done any announcements in December, or at least like maybe like an Apple TV show or something. But
Right. Sure.
so anything substantial? I don't think so.
I don't think so. Most people don't. Usually it's before it to get holiday buzz or release it in time for the holidays or something. Like I think Black Ops 7 just released. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm saying that. I'm a big fan of Black Ops 1. That's it. That was a long time ago. Excuse me. But yeah, probably not. But might just be settle in for the holidays, play what you have. There's tons of good options, and we'll see what it brings next year. But there's still a Steam Winter Sale incoming, unless I'm crazy. So though, wait, did they even do that in December? Or is it like next year?
No, they do that. The Steam Winter Sales. Christmas sales, whatever they call them.
Okay, apparently it's starting around mid-December, approximately. Okay. December 18th to January 5th is apparently the sale. So
also, Black Friday is coming up very soon, and I don't actually know of any like important game things that are happening on Black Friday, but on Cyber Monday, you can get crossover at a significant discount every year.
Ooh. Oh, that's true, yeah.
It's the one time of year, barring exceptional situations, where Crossover Live also goes on sale.
Right.
So heads up on that one.
Yeah, worth checking out for sure. Nice. Okay, well, that'll do us. We've covered our news, our games, our tidbits, and we'll see what happens with the show. If we can swing a show, we will. If not, I'll put out a little PSA. And it's been a pretty good year though for the show. Numbers have gone up quite a bit. Not that we, there's no advertising, there's no money in this. We do it for fun, and there's some minor amount of journalism going on here at least. Especially people love Casper's tech head talks. Instead of TED Talk, it can just be Casper Talk, TED Talk, whatever. Tech Talk, Casper Tech Talk. Sam as well when he was here, but he's unfortunately moved. Well, fortunately for him, it's good for him. It was bad for our show scheduling with Sam, which is why he's on like once a year.
Absolutely.
But things are good. Yeah, I would definitely like to try to snag some more guests next year. And it's not that I've been trying and haven't, like, no one's saying yes. It's just I haven't been doing it since Nat Bro came on. But it'd be fun to grab maybe Stewie or Nat again, or Andy Tizer, or I think it's just Andy. Though you guys did a show with him already this year. But anyone else? I mean, realistically, anyone could come on the show. But it's probably better we bring on someone who has like more of a specialization. So yeah. Anyway, the show will, continue on into 2026 by all means. If we have occasional, technically the show is supposed to be monthly. Usually is. Every now and then there was a gap. In this case, there was almost a 2-month gap. So sorry about that. But
it all comes down to both like what we can fit into our scheduling, but also the news cycle. Is there enough interesting stuff to talk about? Sometimes even if it's hard for us to make it fit within our schedule, if there's something super exciting, we'll try and make space for it and stuff. But,
correct, Amundo.
We'll be a little bit more loose with trying to figure out a schedule if there isn't that much to talk about.
Correct.
But we'll try and hit that roughly a monthly thing.
Yeah. I think episode count this year is more like 10 episodes. I think this will be episode 10 if for this year, for example, rather than like episode 12 of the year, as in per year. Though every now and then we've done an extra one, but that's again when there's something juicy and interesting to talk about or whatever. So
yeah,
I mean, I could easily fill an episode or half an episode talking about Borderlands 4 or something, but that'd be more like spoiler territory. But since
I think you're the only one in the crew who's
exactly, and since it's also not a Mac game, I'm like, that's filler content. It's not it's not vital by any means, So, yeah. All right. Well, thanks everyone for listening. Appreciate everyone chiming in, and occasionally, again, you can find us on the podcast website. You can make comments. Technically, you could make comments or reviews on Apple Podcast, which no one really has, even though that's the most listened place. We do have a public channel in the Discord, though I don't really publicize that. I probably should somehow. Maybe we'll get some more people. Again, YouTube is another place people comment, and sometimes we have some discussions or mention a comment or question from one of those places and bring it up on the show. But yeah, I would like to maybe next year make the show a little more dynamic in that sense. I think it would also make it more interesting for us and also the audience. So not going to happen up front because I'm traveling in December and part of January, but hopefully by, I don't know, February or March could come up with. Yeah, well, we'll see. I'll try to spice up the format a little next year. Not radically or anything, but just like try to make it a little punchier. We'll see. Yeah, that'd be what is it? New Year's resolution. So we're not there yet. We're getting there. Like that. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for being here, Casper. Thanks everyone else, and we'll catch you soon. So,
bye.
Bye-bye.